Good evening to morning, afternoon to my fabulous friends, clients, viewers, and the like. I'm Jonathan Bengal here, host of Naked Tax Talk, where babies, we bear down to the naked truth about your tax lives. And we do that by having an open conversation about your personal lives, business lives, and your money lives. But I'm coming to you actually today to share tax tip number 3. And that is that tax advice should come from a tax expert. And the reason why I share this with you is because I'd like to share a story. I once met a client that got advice from their friend, who's their accountant, told them what they could do in their lives. And the worst thing about it is that their friend also took advice from their doctor, who somehow gave them advice in terms of how they should operate their business and what they should do. Now, why is a doctor involved? I have no clue, but it got me thinking. When we're sick, we don't go see a veterinarian to help us, right? Because they specialize in helping animals. And we don't take our animals to regular doctors because they work with the human body, not with animal bodies. And taxes are already complex already, right? So we should be very cautious about where one gets our advice from. These are who the people you can trust when it comes to your tax lives. In all honesty, here it goes. Are you ready? Number 1, topping chart is going to be someone like a tax attorney, someone who can actually represent you, take you to the tax court, make sure you have a great fabulous outcome. Number 2, a United States tax court practitioner, like my friend Tom Grigorski, who has the same authority as a tax attorney that can walk you through and represent you that same level of heightness, right? The same legal opportunities they can help you to mitigate. The next level is an IRS enrolled agent like me, which means that we specialize just like they do in tax law. It means that we understand how the government works in terms of your tax life, the things you can deduct, the entity choices you can make, the issues of collections, the issues of audits, etc., etc., etc. The next person that you can trust is our good old certified public accountant, because they too still have to take a portion of their CPA exam dedicated to regulation. We call this tax. So they also can help you, although the designation forces them typically into one state, unless you're an IRS enrolled agent like me. Like a lot of my friends that are EAs, we are borderless. That means I can give you tax advice in any of the states that you live in, as long as you have an issue with the government or not. Let's do it right? Like my workshops that I'm offering this Friday, how to turn your home into an ATM with confidence. So the thing about it is that when someone starts to tell you, who's not any of these designations, how your tax life should operate, one should ask them, how do they know specifically? Now, granted, for the longest time, I was unlicensed. I mean, that was just the nature of it, right? As we work towards the licensing, it didn't mean that I did not know anything. It just means that one has to be very cautious. You go to the people who specialize in the industry in which you're wanting advice. Just like I went to a cardiologist, because he looks at just the heart to make sure that my heart is in fact true, big, and full of love, babies. And just like I had to go to a pulmonologist to make sure my lungs were breathing, right? I went strictly to specialists. I went to a doctor for the advice. I did not go next door to the trying to think who lives next door to me. Oh, actually, it's a landscaper. I didn't go to the landscaper to ask him to check out my heart or my lungs, right? They wouldn't know. The guy knows how to plant and make your garden, your house look gorgeous. So just be careful, because what it ended up costing this person was over $60,000 in unnecessary taxes that they had to pay out, because they chose to listen to their friend who got the advice from their accountant, who got the advice, or somehow this doctor interlaid. I don't know. But the point is that you always want to work with a specialist, someone who does taxes, preferably IRS enrolled agent. That's who we are, right? I got to brag for myself and my peeps. So that's all I wanted to bring you today was tax tip number 3. When you're dealing with your tax life, work with specialists in the field. From the top again, tax attorneys, United States Tax Court practitioners, IRS enrolled agents, and CPAs. By the way, when you go inquire with a CPA, the question you must ask them is regulation, is tax your specialty? Because a lot of my CPA friends don't necessarily do taxes. In fact, they tend to refer a lot of tax work to me, and that's fantastic. So just because they're a CPA does not mean by default that they're tax experts. They're fantastic at auditing your financials. They are fantastic at looking at numbers and analyzing them. Don't get me wrong, CPAs are fantastic. They're great, and they can help you. Just designate it to their state. So what I'm saying is that if you're going to work with a CPA, also ask them, are you truly a tax specialist? Is this what you specialize in? Like my former boss, Joanne, she was a CPA, but that was one of her strongest suits was tax. So that's the thing you need to ask. An IRS enrolled agent, the assumption there is that we have, which is true, we have spent a lot of time studying tax law. We had to pass an exam, a 3-part exam. It's making sure that we understood business tax, individual tax, and of course, ethics. Your United States Tax Court practitioners are very much an EA, except that they're taking you further past the doors at tax court. They too have to take a very, very extensive exam closely related to the bar. And of course, your tax attorneys who have to pass a bar exam. So this is the level at which you play with when it comes to your taxes. Can I get an amen? This is the reality. When you work with someone who's an expert in that field. For the same reason, I don't go to my mechanic to make me a happy birthday cake. I'm Jonathan Bengal, bringing you tax tip number 3. Pick the right expert to work in the field that you're looking for. Until then, tune in for Thursday. I'm bringing on a guest named Shoshana Roller, who is going to talk to us, believe it or not, about your credit. And can it be repaired? What can we do about your credit? And then she even has a product she's going to talk about that's going to help us to become debt-free in half the time. So I'm really excited to interview her this Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And until then, toodles noodles.